I got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. I'm your host as normal and as usual, Dano. You guys, I got a great guest with us tonight. I got Melissa. And lives in Florida right now, but she kind of grew up, well, she did grow up in Virginia. And she's had a couple of sightings. One she believes is a dogman, one she's not too sure. And then she's also going to tell us about a couple of fairy sightings that she had, not only when she was a kid, but also as an adult. But before we bring her on, I just want to say thank you so much for joining the channel. And if you guys would like to come on the show, if you've had an encounter, please shoot me an email at thecryptidpodcast72@gmail.com, thecryptidpodcast72@gmail.com. And you guys, let's go ahead and bring Melissa onto the show. Melissa, hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Hey, you know what? Thank you so much for reaching out to me. And again, you are, I think, the fourth or fifth person that found me on Spotify.
Oh yeah.
And so that makes me feel awesome because I had started my channel on YouTube way before I started my channel on Spotify. And I just in one day, I think I dumped 15 episodes onto Spotify. So you grew up in Virginia and you've been down in Florida for a few years now. And when you were younger, you had your fairy encounters up in Virginia area, but you also saw something that you're quite not sure what it was. And you also believe you saw a dogman.
Yes.
So you know what? Why don't we go ahead and get into those encounters?
Okay. I guess I'll start off with the dogman encounter. That's probably the most exciting one. So I was, like you said, I'm living in Florida now, but my whole life I lived in Virginia, and I drive a semi truck at night. I do line haul. So at the time, I was going from, this was 2020. I was going from Roanoke, Salem, Virginia, and then my route would go up 81, get on 460 west towards West Virginia, and then go all the way up and then hop on the interstate and go to Charleston. And then on my way back, when you go down 460 west, it's on the side of a smaller mountain before you get to the big West Virginia mountains. But you are up like you're at the top of the mountain. And then when you're coming back east to go back to Roanoke, you're at the bottom of that. It's like a cliff, and you're beside the New River the whole way. But coming back, the river's right there, not level with the road, but pretty much within maybe 10-foot drop off to the river, and you're right beside the river. So I was going to Charleston. It was I went up there and I was coming back, and it was about 1:00 in the morning. And as I'm coming down 460, there's not a lot of traffic at that time. It's mostly just big truck traffic, people trying to avoid going the interstate the whole way. It cuts off like an hour and a half, but so you do have a lot of big truck traffic. But I was in the right lane and coming down through there, and then another tractor trailer passed me on the left and was on down. Well, I'm getting into Narrows, Virginia, and right beside the New River, and the truck ahead of me was, I could see its tail lights, but it was far enough ahead where I had my high beams on, my brights. And I was coming down through there, and I'm always just driving at night, a big truck. I try to be hyper aware of animals. I don't want to hit animals. Don't want to hit a deer, of course. And anyway, I was coming down in the median to my left. I'm in the right lane. I see some movement, but it looks bigger, I think it's a deer. So I slow down a little bit. Don't want it to run out, hurt it, hit it, hurt, mess up the truck or whatever. So I slowed down. Well, as I'm coming up on it, still have my high beams on, coming up on it, and it's moving, whatever it is moving really weird. Like you get used to seeing stuff, and of course at night you can't see things that well anyway. But I was thinking maybe it was a deer that got hit at first. And so I slowed down a little bit more, and I was coming up on it, and I was like, that's not a deer, because it was like 8 foot tall, and I was coming up on it, and like it was, when I went by, and I don't know how fast I was going by this time. I think it's like 45 through there, and I did slow down. So when I'm coming up on it, it's something that it's thinner, it's thin, and it's got bushy fur, like a fox's tail is the only thing I can think of. And it's reddish brown color, but this thing was like 8 foot tall. And you have that, like, I get that shock factor or that adrenaline rush, or I don't know. Like, it just gives you, well, it gave me like a sick feeling, like this isn't normal. I don't know what I'm seeing. I've never seen anything like this before. And I'm coming up on it, and it's like you lose like a sense of time in a way, because your brain is trying to process this. So it's walking away from the road in that median, and it's like, it's gyrating back and forth like this, like a sort of like the only thing I think of is like a washing machine, but it's not going all the way around. And I'm like, that also was like a, like what in, like, I just couldn't, I still can't process it. Like, it's so odd and so scary, and I don't know what's getting ready to happen, and so I slow down a bit more, and I look over, and when it gyrates back around, it's the only word I can think to describe the motion. It wasn't going super fast, but it was just like maybe at its waist turning. I don't, and I don't know why. I don't, so anyway, I look, and it's got this huge skull, and I've never measured, but if you're sitting in a tractor trailer, I'm assuming like at my head, maybe it's about 8 foot up, and like I said, I've never measured it, so I'm just assuming about 8 foot, because its head was sort of even with my head of how tall it was. So that's how I get the 8 foot. But when I looked, it had gyrated back around, and its skull, it was so big, like a bigger than a deer skull. And it was more pointed, like I say sort of like a humongous fox. I don't know why that comes to my mind. It's like a fox maybe has more of a triangle head or something. I don't know, but that's what just comes to my mind. So it's like a pointed head, and its eyes just black. I didn't see any reflection, no eye shine, and all I have on it's my bright lights. There's no street lights through there in that one section, and I didn't see like any. I say it's a Dogman, but I didn't see any like ears sticking up or anything like that. I didn't see. I mean, I'm going probably, I don't know how fast. Like, it's 45 through there, and I did slow down, so I'm traveling and trying to look at this thing. So I didn't get a whole lot of details, but I don't remember seeing any ears, teeth, or eye shine or anything like that. But I do remember seeing like its eye sockets, and they were just black. I don't know that I seen a pupil, but I definitely seen where its eye sockets were, and it was just dark. And its fur was like a reddish brown, longer, but it seemed more slender and tall. And it was definitely walking on 2 legs, because it was upright like a human. And I don't remember seeing like arms or how long they were, or anything like that. I often wonder if I wouldn't have been at work and in the semi truck, like I'd have been scared to death, but tempted just to like stop and try to get more, you know, more of a idea of what's going on here. But in a way that I think of it now, I'm glad I wasn't in the car. But I don't know if it was going to the river for something and was coming back. And it was walking like right there in that area of Narrows. It's where if you look on like Google Maps, whatever, there's like a curve, like where there's two different roads, one going one way, one going the other. And there's like a curve, or not really a curve, but the road just comes out a little bit, but it's like a cliff in there. There's a lot of landslides in there. And at the top, there's a guardrail, and, it's right in that area where they have those landslides and stuff, if anybody's familiar with that. But it was going that way. So I don't know if it was trying to make its way back up in the mountain or whatever. I don't know if it was gyrating because that other truck hit it and was unaware. I don't know that these things can get hit. Like, so like, who knows really, you know? And I often, like, when I think about it, I'm like, did it get hit and it's moving weird like that? I don't know how they normally move, you know. But anyway, so I went on, and of course I'm rattled by this, so I have to go back to the terminal, and I pull pup trailers, so I had to put those at the door, set up a new set of pups, and come back up through there, up on the top part, and go back to Princeton, West Virginia, and then come back through the same route again, you know. So I'm like apprehensive, but going through there the second time, I didn't see anything. Of course, I was going like slower, and of course there's no traffic, so I could afford to do that. And then on my way back, I remembered that there's another driver that goes to Charleston about 2 hours behind me. So I had called him and told him the situation, asked him to look to see if he's seen anything, and he didn't. So that was the only time I seen a creature like that. Now, about 2 months or so before that, and I didn't correlate these until later, these incidences until later, but about 2 months before that, I was going by the same 460, going through Virginia there, almost to West Virginia. And there's a manufacturing plant called Celanese. I don't know what they do, but it's right beside the New River. And there's a culvert. There's a bunch of street lights in there, probably with people leaving work and they don't want a lot of wrecks or whatever. So it's real lit up. So there's a culvert in there, and it's it's like a real skinny median, but it's a deeper culvert. I don't know how deep, but probably for water or whatever. So when I was coming through there, I noticed a creature in the median, but it was huge, like maybe like a Great Dane. Like its body was really long, but it had really long fur, like almost like a chow, but it was like a golden brown color. And of course it could have been a dog, because dogs can mix, of course, with any other dog. But it was just so big, like even bigger than a Great Dane, like its spine, like as long as a dog is. It was just really big. And it looked like it was the motion. Of course, I'm in the track trailer going down the road, but the motion was like it's almost pulling, like going down and pulling up, like maybe a deer or something got hit and it was eating the meat. I mean, it could have been I've never seen a coyote that big. I know coyotes can mix with wolves, my uncle told me, and there are some in West Virginia, and I think I've seen some like that. I don't know what technical term for them, but I don't know if it was something like that. But if it was, it's the biggest one ever. I don't know. That was not the same creature that I seen, because the fur color was different. But I just think it's weird that there was two of those creatures, you know, and I'm not saying they had anything to do with each other, but it was just so odd. So that's my Dogman and impossible Dogman cousin encounter. I don't know. And then the fairy thing, I first seen the fairies when I was that I remember. I was about 6 or 7 years old, and there was a whole situation that happened. I know I was in the second grade. I started school year early. That's how I know how old I was. That's how I remember it, and some other stuff that went along with it. But I was in my bedroom at night, and there was a little, like, you have your curtain up, and we lived in the middle of the woods, even though it was in a small city. It was in a area that just had a ton of woods. It's like on the outskirts. So we had a street light outside, but you know how your curtains have the little gap where the light from the street light will come through. Well, I had woken up for whatever reason. I don't know if it was because of these little creatures or what, but I woke up and there were they were big as a Barbie doll, but they had wings. Like, I associated it with like Tinkerbell or something. Like, they were white or translucent, but white. I don't remember that I could exactly see through them, but they were like, they had no other color to them other than white. And I could see like little wings, and there was 2 of them, and all they were doing, they were like towards my ceiling, and I don't know if I could have seen them without that light coming through from the street light or not, but it's like they were playing. I don't remember feeling sick or feeling scared as a little kid. I don't remember like any of that, because I would have ran and got my mom immediately if I felt scared, but they had little, it looked like their little wings were fluttering, and I thought that was the coolest thing as a little kid, like, how special am I to be able to see something like this, like these little Barbie fairy creatures are in my room, like, that's just so cool. But I remember that incident with the fairies, and that one I remember specifically because some other stuff that went along with it at my school, like correlation as to happenings at the school or whatever. That's how I know how old I was. So then throughout my life, and I don't know why, and I told you before, I've never seen an actual Bigfoot. I've seen all this other stuff, but no Bigfoot yet. Not that I want to, but the fairies, though, like, even in, I used to live in Virginia and I live in Florida now. In Virginia, I would see like what I think is a fairy. Like, those were as big as I would say a Barbie doll, because that's what my mind thought when I was little. But I've seen smaller ones, nothing bigger than like a Barbie, but I've seen smaller ones. And, I always, whenever you see stuff, everybody should try to explain it away and try to figure out a logical, reasonable, earthly explanation for it, because normally it's something like that. But on every instant that I truly believe it was something different, paranormal, whatever, the creatures, it's like they'll just appear, the fairies, they'll flutter around. It's like they're not as quick as a dragonfly, or at least my encounters, they're not, but they're still pretty quick, but they flutter around, and it's like you can see that it's not an insect, not a moth. They're usually white. I'll tell you something that happened in Florida, but they're usually like a whitish, translucent to me means you can see through it, and I don't know that you could see through anything but their wings that I've ever remembered. So I've never seen any color on them, though. And I have seen them during the day. Even one here in Florida, when I first moved here, like my 3rd day of actually living here and not visiting or whatever, I seen one that was dark color during the day. And it was funny because it looked like a fat one, and it fluttered up, and it was probably a little bit smaller than a Barbie, but it was like more, like, had more of a body to it. And that's the first time I've ever seen one like that. No fairy encounters have I ever felt a sickly feeling or a bad feeling. The Dogman, I did feel a sick feeling. I don't know if I said that, but anyway, the fairies though, I'll see those just every so often. I don't know why. If anybody else out there has an idea as to why, I'd like to hear it. But but the fairy thing, and I can't remember what else I was going to talk to you about.
You're perfectly fine. I got some questions, and while you were describing what you'd seen and stuff, I always go off camera so I can write notes. I'm listening, but I'm also doing research as well because I'm trying to find answers for you as well. And what came to mind when you started talking about the dog man, where it had like a bushy tail, but you didn't see any ears, and it was kind of slender, but it was kind of built. Um, I don't know if you've ever heard. There's a thing called a gugway,
No, I've never heard.
and they believe it's a hybrid between a a Bigfoot and a dog man. From what I've understand, and I haven't had anybody on that bona fide said yes, it was a gugway. I haven't had anybody on. I haven't heard any really, hard hitting stories about them. But what they believe is, the term gugway means face eater.
Oh,
It's a Native American thing, and they're super aggressive,
oh God.
very very aggressive. Also, I did some looking, and it when I looked this up, there was a couple of things that popped up. And these two things are known to be around the Appalachian Mountains. And one is a devil monkey,
Oh,
and the reason I that came up was because you said you didn't see any pointed ears on top of its head,
right.
but they do have tails, like
Oh,
bushy tails. Another one is a devil dog. We're not talking Marines here. We're talking again, a creature that is considered one of the three types of dogmen.
now
And
let me interrupt you just for a second because I've seen a bunch of different stuff, but I think we can go into this or whatever or not. But I've seen something up in West Virginia coming down the interstate that looked like a mix of a hyena and like an off hyena. And I think that was some type of cryptid. And I can talk about that real quick.
absolutely,
I,
you're holding out on me.
but the thing is, I don't know why I have these sightings or whatever. And I've never seen a Bigfoot. All the stuff I've seen, and everybody's like, "Have you seen a Bigfoot?" I'm like, "No," I don't know why. But yeah, do you want me to talk about that one?
Absolutely, because it's funny you say that because I just interviewed somebody the other night that they were leaving for work early in the morning, and as they're driving, they're 2.5 miles, roughly 2.5 miles from their house. It's 5:13, and she remembers the time. It was 5:13 in the morning. It was still kind of dark, but the sun was coming up, and this happened not too long ago. And as she's looking off to the passenger side because she sees something pop its head up out of this ditch. Now this ditch is like 6 feet deep.
Right.
And she looks and she sees this thing pop its head up out of this ditch, and then it comes up out of the ditch, and she said it's massive. As she drives by, it gives chase, and
Oh,
she's going 53 miles an hour. She remembers the time, she remembers the speed, and she's looks over, and it's literally right next to her passenger side window. And she said it had the face and shape of a hyena.
oh, I think it's me cold chills.
So, let's hear that one as well.
That freaks me out. Don't think that it doesn't but so I don't remember exactly. I did that route that I was talking about with the dog man for about a year and a half ish. So I was coming, and the reason why I know this is the next time I went through there, like I made note of where I was or whatever, because I wanted to see this thing again. Not that I was going to get out or whatever, but I was like, what is this? And it was Whitaker, West Virginia. Okay, but I was on the interstate up there. So I'm coming through and I'm coming around a slight curve in the road, not a big one. And my lights as I'm going around that curve, I have my bright lights on. I see something like, you've got the shoulder, like where you can pull over a car. I can't think. I'm
Yeah.
excited. Somebody else seen something like this. And then you have the grassy part of the shoulder over there, and it sort of drops down. Of course, it's the mountains, So I'm coming around that curve, and my light, up ahead, my lights, there's something, and again, I'm, always watching out for deer or whatever, and I see something, and it's sort of like you've got the shoulder, and then you got that little bit of grass, and then it dips down, and as it dips down, it was down in there. Well, my lights caught it, and it popped its head up, and I got that jolt again. I can just say it's adrenaline, I guess. And I got a sick feeling, and I slowed down a little bit, but as I come through, it's like, because it was a curve, it's like I got a better view of this thing, right? And I was coming around, and I swear it looked like the first thing that comes to my mind is a hyena. I'm like, what the heck's a hyena doing in West Virginia? And then I've had some people tell me there was some circus back in the day and they got loose or whatever.
We hear that all the time. How
did it survive all this time? I don't know. So we won't get into that. I don't think it was just a regular hyena. It was, I've never seen a hyena in person. But it was huge. It's like, it looked like it was eating something, again, like a deer or something. And it looked like its fur was like a golden color with some black in it. And it sort of looked like it had like, I don't know, like its fur on its back was a little bit longer. I don't know, but it had this huge head, and it just looked menacing. And it was scary. And I've tried to ask around, and like other dudes that work at the terminal there, live in West Virginia, and I swear that somebody has seen this thing, but they don't want to talk about it. Somebody's had to have seen these things, and they're afraid, because I've heard people say, if you talk about it, they'll come seek you out or whatever. And I'm like, well, the thing is, it's a fact that you've seen it, so it already knows you've seen it, so why not?
Oh, for sure. So I got some questions for you, and you completely answered the first question. I know, and you had mentioned the second creature, and now a third creature. How did the first and second and third creature, how did they differ from the first creature that you saw?
The first one, meaning the Dogman standard.
Yeah.
The first one, well, number one, the coat color, or the fur color. The first one was like a reddish brown.
Okay.
Like a reddish brown chow, I guess. The second one that was down in the culvert was like a golden brown, not golden like a gold, well, sort of like a golden retriever, but more dirtyish golden.
Okay.
The hyena creature had like a golden, but it had black in it, and the fur on top was it just had, it's like its fur on the side was shorter or something, and it's not like a mane, but it's just seemed like it had bushier or fuzzier fur along its spine on the top. I don't know what that means, but
okay. So with all three of these creatures, was there any eye contact with you? Were they aware of your presence?
The hyena creature, I think so.
Okay.
Go
ahead.
The first Dogman, like I said, I say him, I call everything a him. The gyrating, I don't know what all that's about. I mean, who does?
Right.
But when it came back around and I seen its face, I don't feel like it came back around to look at me. I had somebody ask me that one time. I don't think it was coming back around exactly to look at me. I just think it happened to gyrate back around because it had already been around and then come back around again. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
don't think it came back around to look at me. I just think it was coincidence that I was able to go by when I did and get a good look at its face.
Yeah.
Or as good as
That makes sense.
the second creature with the golden fur that was in the culvert, I didn't see its head. I just seen the body.
Okay. Let's see here.
But that hyena type creature, that's one thing that really creeped me out was I felt like it looked up, right? So I don't know, like looked up and looked like I'm sitting up higher than it is on the ground. Plus it's down a little bit in like the shoulder, you know what I mean? So I felt like now that creature, I felt like it looked and it looked up towards my face. Now, whether it was acknowledging that there's another being, a human entity, I don't know, or was it just looking because of the truck? Because it's going to be loud.
Yeah. What kind of truck do you drive?
Huh?
What kind of truck do you drive?
Peterbilt. Of course, it's different one now, but at that time, well,
Yeah.
But Peterbilt and my company keeps newer trucks at the time. So 2020, it had to have been like a 2018, 2019, 2020. So it's not as loud and it's not as cool as, some of the older Kenworths or whatever, but it's still loud. And
Yeah.
so then you've got two trailers and all those tires going down. So I don't know
Yeah.
if it was looking at the truck, just the truck approaching and it was acknowledging that. I hope that it wasn't acknowledging that it's me, a human in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, the reason I asked was just kind of give people perspective of how high you're sitting up. So if it did look in your direction, it may just be looking up, you
right.
know, so I don't think it was like seeking you out.
I hope
But
not.
if there was like an eye contact, it was probably just a brief, as you drove
Right.
by. So
Like,
I wouldn't worry about that. So after these encounters, did you find yourself having any maybe strange dreams or anything? And you know, and did these encounters kind of like affect your life in any way after the encounters had happened?
strange dreams, I would say no. Um, like I said, I've had paranormal and different experiences my whole life.
Hmm.
The the thing is, I've had the fairy thing. Um, I think I've seen a couple UFOs here and there throughout my life, and then I've had seen orbs. But as far as these cryptid creatures, I don't ever remember seeing them until I started driving at night. Um, Not that they can't be around during the day. I don't know if during the day you're explaining them away by other means or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't they haven't affected my life other than until I seen that Dogman. I never looked into this stuff. Like it's like I'm already get enough entity ghost things,
Yeah.
and so it's like I never looked into I knew I was aware of cryptids, obviously aware of Bigfoot, but I never looked into them until that Dogman sighting in 2020, and I wanted to try to figure out what it was, and that was the door opening for me for the cryptid side of things. I was aware, I wasn't,
Right.
unaware of that, but I just never looked at videos, sought out stuff. I know there's Bigfoot shows and those,
Yeah.
got on those or whatever. And I think I've watched those. I don't watch a lot of TV anyway, but until that Dogman, the only difference I guess is trying to figure it out and correlating those things with other paranormal things that have happened to me during my life. Now, I grew up in the woods and in my city, plus my family, I've got family in West Virginia, and then we went camping. We tent camped. We didn't have RV and stuff like that. So I've camped in the woods. I've camped in the West Virginia woods, sleeping in your sleeping bag without a tent. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying I'm a diehard hiker or whatever, but
Right.
through all that and all my stuff that happened, I've never remember having an encounter or hearing stuff, but who knows?
Right. So let's switch over to the fairy encounters. How old were you when you first had your very first encounter with a fairy? About how old you were.
6 or 7.
Okay. And what were they doing?
It seemed like they were just fluttering around, like maybe playing, like in my mind as a little kid, it just seemed like they were playing in my room. Like if two Barbies became animated and was playing by themselves, it seemed like that, but they were up around my ceiling just floating around.
Just like zipping back and forth, kind of
Yeah,
like if you look outside, you see how like dragonflies zip
yeah,
around, things like that. Something like
right.
okay, that makes sense. Um, were the encounters that you had as an adult with these fairies, how did they differ from the ones when you were a child?
I would say I wouldn't say any different, other than me being more of aware that obviously this isn't a normal thing that people see all the time, and it's something paranormal. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know why.
Mhm.
It's I guess the only difference is, as an adult, you try to gather as much information as you can while they're there, because they're not going to be there very long,
Right.
and try to understand it more. Um, and I don't know that there was a difference.
Yeah. Okay, no, that's fair. And the last question, if someone were to listen to what you were saying, like, say maybe you were talking with somebody and they were listening, just kinda like off the side listening, and then they started questioning your encounter, like, "Yeah, like, really, what did you see?" How do you think that you would react to that?
On which one?
Just like the fairy encounters or the dogman encounters? 'Cause
Something. I would just say it's something paranormal, unusual,
yeah.
and I would say, because I do have people ask me, you know, friends or family or whatever. It's like some people don't like to talk about this stuff, and
Oh, I know. Especially from what for around Appalachia, absolutely, I
oh,
know. Especially you get down in those hollers, unless you know someone or your family from with someone in one of those hollers,
right,
they're not talking to you.
no, nope,
Absolutely not, and I know that firsthand, and I know that from other people who are from I still got family that live in those hollers
I do too.
down West Virginia. So, there's certain parts that I know I can go to
Yeah,
and not have a worry in the world,
right.
and, or even if I did something wrong, I could probably go there and meet up with family in the hollers, and they'll hide me, and they
Yeah,
won't allow anyone coming down to those hollers after me. So
you
that's
know,
just good.
man, that's where I'm going.
That's just good old country folk right there. So, Melissa, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. Yeah, I mean, it's I know from just the emails that you and I exchanged back and forth, and then the brief, a little bit of time that you and I talked before the show, you know, you mentioned that you really don't trust people, because you know a lot of people don't trust people when it comes to things like this, because they're afraid of the ridicule. They're afraid of what people will think. And I just want to let you know that the Cryptid Podcast and my buddy Josh, his show, Mysteries Unknown, and then there's a couple other ones that are slowly coming up. I have a buddy of mine named Wyatt. He has Boone County Cryptids, and he's in Arkansas. He's a really good guy. We try to create a safe space specifically for anybody to come and tell stories, but for people like you who are very apprehensive, that are very, in a way, not trusting, because who wants to have people, call them names or just get rude with them in comments and things like that. So the Cryptid Podcast is a safe place. 100%. I am on in the comments. You can ask anybody. Either I'm giving them a thumbs up and a heart, or I'll drop a little comment. And then I kind of go after people that get nasty with my guests, because guests are part of my family in this whole cryptid community. And I don't like anybody messing with my family. So
Right. I appreciate it. Not like I said, I drive at night still, semi truck or whatever, line haul. And I was listening to something, and then I just let whatever pop up, whatever, like news shows or whatever.
Mhm.
And normally, for whatever reason, I'll just skip over it. And with yours, I just let it play, and I liked your approach or whatever. So that's, you were saying, how did I find you on Spotify or whatever? You found me sort of, because you just
I
started.
just popped on. So hopefully you're one of my followers on Spotify, and this is going to be posted again on Spotify, but also it's going to be posted on YouTube. So I'll send you a link to it. I'll send you a link to my channel, so you could go back and say, okay, well, I listened to this episode on Spotify. What does this person look like? And then you'll be able to see what they look like.
Yep.
All right.
Up your buddies' accounts too.
Yeah, I'll send you links to their accounts as well.
Sounds.
And they are on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
So
I YouTube while I'm driving. I just don't watch it.
I do the same thing. I turn my phone around so I don't watch it, but I'm listening to it play. So
exactly. Yeah.
All righty. Well, hey, you know what? Thank you so much for coming on the show. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah.
And if you want to hang out in the lobby for just a second, I'm going to go ahead and close out the show. Okay. All right. Stand by. All right, you guys, that was Melissa. And I'm going to tell you right now, that was a really cool encounter. She popped that last Dogman encounter or unknown creature. She sprung that up on me real quick. So, and it's really, really ironic that she mentioned that it had a hyena looking face or head, because I just interviewed someone yesterday. Day before yesterday. Or yesterday, I don't remember, but recently I interviewed somebody and they described what they saw coming out of that ditch as a big hyena looking creature. So coincidence? I don't know. But, guys, again, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for spending your valuable time, with us tonight. You guys remember, if you guys have had an encounter and you'd like to come on the show, please shoot me an email at thecryptidpodcast72@gmail.com. Thecryptidpodcast72@gmail.com. And as my buddy Josh always says, you guys remember, stay prayed up. And as I always like to say, remember, a legend always starts with a sighting. You guys have a fantastic night, and I'll talk to you later.
I got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?